Those barbed wire fences couldn't hold me in. A long dusty road was wearing mighty thin, yeah, yeah. I've come a long way since I left that life.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Cowgirl Channel of Canada. We're so excited to share with you this special interview with one very special Canadian cowgirl, Eli Barsi. Eli grew up at the beautiful prairies of Southeastern Saskatchewan, Canada. Raised on a farm with a rural upbringing where there was always a horse to ride and learning the values of hard work were plentiful. Eli has a heart full of love for life. The Western way of living is everything to Eli. She's done an amazing job of truly showing her cowgirl spirit. For over 35 years, Eli has toured North America and Europe extensively as a professional singer, songwriter, musician, and recording artist and entertainer. Eli's music is based on her Western roots, a wonderful representative of the way of the Canadian cowgirl. Eli has also traveled and experienced Nashville, Tennessee, some would say where the heart of country music lives. In 2019, Eli released her first book along with album number 17 and has recently released a second book, Beneath the Prairie Sky. Eli has a huge passion for her ambitions and abilities and loves sharing them with us all. Please welcome a beautiful Canadian cowgirl, Eli Barsi.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I am so delighted to be with you, Lori, and visiting with all the beautiful gals across our nation. And I just appreciate the invite so much. Thank you for having me on your show.
No, you're very welcome. It was a little bit of a mess-up in regards to getting it scheduled, but I'm so glad that we reconnected and that we could get this done. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have you on here, and I just wanted to let people know right away in the very beginning of the interview that congratulations on all your success as a musician. I just thoroughly really love some of your music and the way that you represent the Canadian cowgirl. I think it's so important for people to get an opportunity to hear from you and to know exactly what you've done and experienced so that you can share it with other people, because I think your journey up till now has just been an amazing one. So start us off a little bit about your life and growing up in the beautiful prairies of Saskatchewan. I've never been there myself. I've driven through, but I've never spent any time in Saskatchewan, but it is such a beautiful, the prairies are so beautiful. So tell us about your growing up there.
Well, on behalf of everyone in Saskatchewan, you have an open invitation, Lori. So you please come and see us.
Very soon.
We'll take good care of you. Well, I grew up in the southeastern corner of the province, rolling plains, some trees, some hills, but for the most part, pretty flat in the farming area. And I grew up in a farming and ranching community. We had a mixed farm. My dad had pulled her for cattle, some horses, and was a major grain grower in the area, wheat, barley, oats at the time. And I just loved growing up on the farm. I never ever felt like I was missing out. I had a lot of friends in town, and I go hang with them sometimes, but I think that they had more fun coming out to the farm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we could go on so many adventures and just have so much wide open space to run free and enjoy the outdoors. And so I grew up, I was in horse 4-H. I always had a horse. I always rode horses and loved that, being outside, helping my dad with the chores. And I'd rather be outside than inside, so I was always out with the cattle and fencing or whatever have you. We had to work either inside or outside, on the farm growing up. So I picked outside, and it was a really great childhood. I'm so grateful.
Wow.
That I had that kind of upbringing. That isn't the case for everyone, but I was really blessed to have two parents that love each other and work hard and teach me all those values at a very young age, because they just keep paying off.
Isn't that a beautiful thing, though, that we're so blessed? Anybody that has an opportunity and or grew up on a farm has that same, like, honest to goodness, like, just blessed feeling, blessed outlook about it all, and we really appreciate what we were given. We really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think it rings true right across the nation and into the U.S. All my rural friends that grew up that way, we all have the same. No matter what how our landscape differs, we still have that same mindset.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, that welcome that you gave everybody, including me, out to the beautiful prairies. I'm sure when people are listening to our show here, that they're going to be welcoming of that. I know with everybody, with what's happening in the world today and for the last year and a bit, we all can really sit back and look at different things, and we can see things a little differently and from a different perspective by being kind of stuck at home, a lot of us.
Yes. Yes.
But if we've grown up on a farm, or we have those opportunities, and Canada is so beautiful, our country is so beautiful. I hope and pray that everybody does get back out there and get torn around, and I think all of Canada has some pretty amazing, very niche little spots in there that are touristic and just gems everywhere.
That's right. Everywhere you go,
yeah,
there's something to see. That's right, for sure.
So you did have horses growing up, and so I wanted to ask, did you have a special horse that was something, a horse that kind of gave you one of those situations where you're like, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life?
Well, there was I had a Shetland pony to start off with, Smokey, and ornery as all get out, and he was actually a really good horse to learn to ride on, because he was so stubborn and had his own ways that it was something you had to really learn horsemanship at a young age, or he was just going to be the boss, right? and head for the barn every time you leave the barn. But then after that, when I matured to the big girl horses, my brother had a lot of really well trained horses. He was a great horseman, and so I was blessed that I got to ride all of his, and that helped me develop even further. And then when I was about 15, 16, I got a horse that was green broke, and that was my first very own horse, where I'm going to really work on shaping him into the horse I hope he can be. And his name was Walter.
Aww.
Yeah, and he was a good horse, and we had lots of experiences together, and trail rides and 4-H. I dabbled in barrel racing with him. He was quarter horse standard bred, so to break him out of that quick little trot thing was was a challenge, and we did a bit of barrel racing, but nothing at any competitive level or anything, just for fun, and like at 4-H and gymkhana type stuff, and then my music kind of took over. I was a horsewoman in the early years, and a figure skater, and a musician. One of those things had to, I probably could have went with any of them and really worked hard at developing them, but the music was probably calling and pulling on those heartstrings the most.
Yeah. So at what age did you actually pick up a guitar and actually start to learn? Were you self-taught, or?
Yeah, I was self-taught. I sang from a really early age, like about 3. I remember learning words and really, learning the song from start to finish and memorizing, and just performing in the living room and the local bullfight herds.
That's amazing.
And then just kind of worked my way up to maybe my first performance was at 9. And when I started singing in the community, I was not yet playing an instrument, so I had a couple cousins play for me for different weddings, anniversaries, funerals, talent shows. And at about 12 years old, I had an opportunity to go on a local television show. It was in the town of Yorkton, which is about 2 hours away from home. It was a big deal. It was called Profile. And I was so excited to go on the show. And one of my accompanists, I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to make them look bad, but we we practiced and practiced. We were ready to go. A couple nights before we drove over to Yorkton for the show, that person called me and canceled. They got cold feet.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
so of course I can't learn to play the guitar in 2 days.
No.
So I was devastated.
Uh-huh.
And I never got to go on the show, ever. That
Oh
was
my
it.
goodness.
So, but you know what I did? My sister had a guitar in the house, and she didn't really play it. It was just kind of there. And I thought, okay, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. And that's what fueled me to learn, was that cancellation, because I said, this is, even at 12 years old, I knew this is not going to happen to me again. I'm
Wow.
going to, you know, I'm never going to be stuck. So that's what I needed, that kick in the butt to pick up the guitar that was there all along.
Wow.
And learn some chords and start becoming a guitar player.
What an amazing thing to happen at such an early age.
I was heartbroken, but it was a good lesson.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you know, you that was the start of taking bad things and making them something good out of them.
Wow.
You know, and
yeah.
you just keep going on, and then throughout life we look back and we've all had situations that are devastating or sad, and we'll learn from them, and we'll make them good and
yeah. And it's good too when you have like the support of your family and stuff like that. So you said you have a sister and I guess your parents. So what were some of the things when you were growing up and you know, touring around doing weddings and stuff like that? I guess your parents would have had to take you, so they must have been very supportive of your career choice early in life.
Yeah, they were. You see, I got my talents from my dad. It was kind of in the Barsi genes, but he was so busy as a farmer, and he was proud of me that I was singing and playing, but he never, I have to say, he didn't take me anywhere. It was my mom. My mom that was devoted to getting me to all these places, and dad would just say, no, we're too busy to go here or there, and I don't fault him for it at all, because things changed in the later years, and when my career was blooming and I was out there, you know, really really proving to everybody that I can actually do this for a living. Well, then his tune changed, but in the beginning it was just, you know, he saw it as a fun thing that I got to do, and you know, maybe going to sing in a talent show or something wasn't really necessary. So he didn't have the time. But my mom always took the time and definitely said, okay, we'll get there, we'll get you there, we'll get you there.
Wow.
and then when I got my license, you know, when you're a farm kid, you get your license like right the day you turn 16. Around here, that was a big deal. So then, you know, I drove myself to all the little gigs I was starting to get, but I did get a lot of support from the family and the community, and that was all, you know, that really helps develop.
Oh, absolutely. And
an artist.
Yeah, and like that was one of the things I'd love to, you know, ask and kind of figure out, but I think in some way you just answered it. Like when did you start to realize that you had when did your confidence kick in? Was it early in life or was it later? But I think what you're kind of saying there too is that even though your parents took a different dynamic on both of it, it was still giving you that freedom to grow your own confidence, which is fantastic at such an early age.
Yeah. It's very important to have that confidence, especially in this business, because it's hard work, and you have to really believe that you can do it and move forward with it. And I was so shy. Oh my goodness, I was such a shy little girl, but I was really very determined, and always had this incredible drive and passion to do the music. But you know, I don't think it was until I left home for college that I really jumped to the next level of confidence, because I left the community and the support, unconditional support of family and people that know you.
Yes.
Maybe they're supporting you because they just love you and you're the little neighbor girl. But are you really onto something here? So then I found myself playing to strangers. You know, I took my guitar with me to college, and I'm playing music for strangers. So these people don't have to like me. You know, they don't have to like what I'm doing. But I found that I was getting the same kind of support and encouragement from all these new people. So that was when my confidence level jumped.
Fantastic.
Because it was just something, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. And it builds up. Like, it becomes, if you're consistent with your confidence, it's very familiar to me in regards to, I'm going to reference my horsemanship training. That's how I get people to understand, like, you just get that relationship and that communication going with the horse, but you build it up at a slow and steady pace, but you stay consistent all the way through. And then all of a sudden that horse has a tolerance to handle, a bag or a tarp or a saddle or something coming at them. They're confident, and that's kind of it grows, and it gives you an opportunity to take that to the next level and to do something even harder in life. So what have been some of the challenges that you've experienced when you got into your early adult life with all of what you were doing?
There were so many challenges in it. My college career was just very short-lived.
Okay.
Because if that was something that my parents encouraged, the music thing is great. However, that should just be you should have a backup plan.
Yes.
Also saying you're probably going to need a backup plan. So I went to college and studied animal health technology, just worked with large animals, like a vet assistant. I didn't have the grades to be a vet, but I thought working with cattle and horses, and that would be, and my music, well, if it happens. But I was only there for 1 year out of 2, and then I got an opportunity to get out there on the road with the music, so I grabbed it and went. But the opportunity was to travel as they call it as a single act. So I had a sound system and a drum machine and me and my guitar. And in those days, that was the late 80s, there was a lot of opportunities, like every single lounge and little club and everything, they had entertainment going like all the time. There was just so much work for live musicians. It was just unbelievable compared to now. But
how I miss it.
Yeah, it was a way to get out on the road, and I had an agent out of Edmonton that booked me on the road. So my first big challenge was getting out there playing 6 nights a week by myself, and Sunday was the day I drove to the next one, and I did that for 2 years solid.
Wow.
And so it was a huge challenge, traveling in the winter, traveling by myself. I was 18.
Wow, you were really you just went right, you just loved life, and you just went right after. You're like, I know what I want. At like 12 years old, like, I know what I want, exactly how I want this to go. Now how do I get it done? And you just started digging right in there, and just, that's unbelievable. And congratulations. It takes so much courage to live life, and then to do something and to be passionate about it and make it your life is another hurdle. And then to actually have success from it, and then have the opportunity to, now I'm at this stage in my life and getting ready to record albums and so forth, and then continue on creating more work for yourself to keep yourself challenged, and to keep growing yourself, your life, your business, everything. It's such an accomplishment, for anybody. And congratulations, you've done just an amazing job. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. I appreciate that. There's just everybody that goes after anything, they know how hard of work it is, and when you're independent and self-employed, it's like you kind of always have to be working. Your brain is always turned on that way, and I'm sure you realize that too. And with all of your work, it's kind of like it's an ongoing thing. It's really hard to shut the day off and say, okay, I'm done work for the day. Yeah,
absolutely. And you didn't, and so you've had success, like on, I think so your 17th album was 2019. So when was your first recorded album?
It was 1996.
Fantastic.
So they've kind of been spread out throughout the years.
I know.
But it's the recording has been so, I just love every opportunity we get to do that, but that's always been a challenge too. I've never been signed to a record label, so everything has been on my own dime, and some help with there's some good grants in Canada, so I'm thankful for the federal and the provincial music organizations that offer grants. But then again, they're not easy. They don't just hand them out. You have to jump through a million hoops and fill out I don't know how many applications, and it's a lot of work to get those. And, but at least they're out there, you know. At least they're out there, and there's a chance. And I think the money's always a challenge when you're independent, because you can only move, you can only advance as far as you can afford to.
Right. And it comes with the growth too. Like, you know, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's such a resourceful piece of information, and it just shows like how diversified you became with your growth as you became an adult, as you became, you know, an even more advanced artist. So and still to this day, I mean, just releasing, you know, your second book, like, I find it just fascinating that you're so diversified in what you've offered through your Western roots and your upbringing. It's just fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things, was one of my questions, is that, you know, what would have been a presented struggle that you would have had in your career challenges, and so that's one of them, right? For anybody, for our listeners, or for any young artists. I mean, obviously finances is a big deal, but if there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I always went ahead and made a decision whether I had the money to do it or not. Yeah. And my husband, Mr. Realistic, you know, he's quite different, thinks quite differently than me. And so, you know, he's, well, I don't think we should be making plans if we don't have the budget. And I'm like, the budget will come after, you know, and it always has. And sometimes it's been a close call, and we're getting ready to shoot a video, and funds aren't quite there, and it always works out, and you know, it always works out in the end. And if it doesn't work out, well, it's not the end.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be. But that's that blessing again of you know, having, like, just to go back, just to visit back with how your dad wasn't available always to take you, but your mom was. You just kind of you find that balance in there, and if it's meant to be, it's going to come for you, and you know, you'll get there. But again, your story just leading up to that, and I'm sure there's so much more in between that has happened, you know, little tiny things here, like, oh, you know, you might not remember every bit, but something could trigger like a memory from when you were 23 years old at such and such a gig. But, you know, you're sharing all this information, and there's young women out there now. I just did an interview with another young music artist from Canada, and you know, it's you have to have not only the passion and the support of your family and stuff around you when you're doing this. My daughter is in fine arts and theater, and I'm very supportive of her dream to be an actress and to do what she's passionate about doing. But boy, there's a lot of challenges, you know, and we need to support each other, not just women, not just Canadian women, but we as a race, we need to be able to support each other, because you're very talented. Like, I can't do what you do, and so we need to recognize that talent everywhere that we go, right?
That's right. And everybody has something different to offer, and everybody's running their own race. What's right for one person isn't right for the other, and so on and so forth. But just continually lifting each other up is so important, and encouraging one another. And you know, you never fall when you're lifting someone up.
Absolutely. So, and speaking of some of that now, what would you advise anybody that was a music artist that's listening to our show, and you know, they're stuck, you know, maybe they can't figure out how to get financing, maybe their family is saying, you know, get a real job, or you know, I hear that so often, and with everything that is happening right now, especially with the pandemic, how it has affected culturally us. You know, I've seen some universities shut down different programs that are non-essential, and things like that. So what would be something that you would give advice to for a young woman that's an artist that thinks she may want to do this, but like, really, maybe I should do something else right now? Like,
well, I would definitely say going back to the beginning of the grassroots of their career, become a musician. Like, if you're a singer songwriter, great, but do learn to play an instrument. That's just so important. Whatever it is, to be able to accompany yourself, you know, in some way, piano, guitar, ukulele, and really hone your craft. Be really, really, well rehearsed, be professional, because then you can start booking yourself little gigs. Don't wait for people to come to you, because you'll be waiting forever, because there's just too much out there, especially now. Like, even back when I started, there was already so many people doing it, and I waited for so long. I waited for 10 years. I was on the road solid before I recorded my first album, because I thought someone's going to come in, a talent buyer, record company dude or dudette, somebody's going to come in and recognize me and say, hey, we want to record you. We want to give you a record deal. We want, after 10 years, that didn't happen. And that's when it took me that long to save up and gather and say, I'm doing this myself. I don't need a record company. I can go make a nice album. So, don't wait for people to do anything for you. Learn the business. And that's another thing. I just want to sing and write my little songs and play my guitar and let someone else worry about all that, like management stuff. And that's fine if you can find someone that a manager has to truly love everything that you do, because otherwise it's going to be more about them than it is about you. It's for them to market you properly and to promote you and make sure they pick the right opportunity that suits not only you but your heart and soul. And so just learn. I would recommend learn the business. Right. And it is 90% of it, sadly. The 10% is here I am on stage. The glamorous thing everybody sees and thinks, wow, isn't that great? And her life is so great. But they don't see the 90% of the work that took to get there, So it's very important to learn the business side, book your own shows, make your contacts, network. And you can start saving up when you do these little gigs that pay a little bit here and there. Well, you can start saving that up for an album, and there's all kinds of places to play. There's, you think there's no gigs. Well, just create a gig that didn't exist. I love that. There's always a way to get in there. People love live entertainment, even with the COVID thing going on. There's outdoor markets, and there's just so many ways to get out there. But I think honing your craft, be really strong in your performance, be professional, and then learn the business, get your business chops. So that, and then someday when you do find your management team, dream team, well, then you'll know if they're doing a good job or not, because you'll already know how all of that works. And anyways, that's a little bit of tips.
But I think that's a lot of tips, though, because there's a couple of really big important things in there that you said. One, the most valuable piece of information I took away from that is the fact that you do have to know the business that you're in. I actually did a weekend event, or I think maybe it was a week-long event at Miracle Mountain Ranches in Corey, Pennsylvania. It was a beautiful Christian retreat that I went to with some other people, and it was a horse trainer, and she was one of the guest speakers that were there as well. It was a bunch of students that were attending there, and they were all given over the weekend, come back to us with your ideas, like your business ideas for the equine industry. And one of the big things that came out of it was that, I love it. I was like, oh, I love horses. I just want to train horses, and I'm fairly good at it, and I just love it. And you're so passionate about it, but you have to do all of the other things, the accounting. You have to do the marketing. You have to know how to run your business. You have to know what your clientele want and don't want, and that's a beautiful part of information. Like for young artists out there right now, that because there are so many talented people all across our beautiful country, and they just don't have the ability or the know-how to, how do I get myself where I need to be, and like what you said when you were younger, when you're scared and you're nervous to step out there and be in front of a stranger singing or performing or entertaining or doing, I'm familiar with some of that too. I did it, one of my first ever debut performances was at the RCMP Sunset Ceremonies in Ottawa in front of 20,000 people. I was like, what? Wow. Couldn't I have started smaller? It was so overwhelming, but Yeah, it's scary to put yourself in that position, but when you do,
Wow.
you can start from there, and you just, oh, okay, well, that didn't work out for me. I didn't, and yeah, so that's great advice to a young artist out there, and even someone that's not in the music industry. It could be a farrier, could be a saddle maker. That's our young women that are out there right now, farmers and ranchers. All that they're doing, and anything to do with our great country of Canada, and promoting it all the way we go. I really do hope that the pandemic comes to some form of a new phase, is what I want to say. I don't want to say a close, but to a new phase soon, because I sure do miss going and listening to live music, and I can tell there's so many other musical artists out there. How has it affected you, the pandemic? Like I know you just said there are like outdoor events and stuff like that, but has it affected your business to a degree where it made you like sad to see that the whole world is going through this, and unfortunately we can't gather and be together?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes. As of last March 2020, I had been on the road 35 years, almost full time, like pretty much the whole entire time. I've been playing gigs every month somewhere in the world. And so I had a whole year of wonderful gigs booked again, because that was going to be my 2020. And all of a sudden, that whole, it just came to such an abrupt end, and everything canceled. They were all big shows, like bigger shows that, more than whatever the allowance is for crowds even outside. So everything was canceled. So I went from a full calendar to an empty calendar. Yeah. Now I'm also an artist and painter, so I had a little workshop that I was working in when I wasn't on the road, and I've been starting to paint commissions for people and have pieces for art shows. And so all the art shows were canceled too, because they all involve an audience or people wandering through and what have you. So I found myself like very well, depression runs in my family anyways. So just on any given day, I've always worked really hard at staying busy for that reason too, because it keeps me out of the darkness. Stay moving forward and always having a project on the go and staying busy. So I found myself, well, I'm just going to dive right into my painting. I can still work on my music, but it was hard to work on the music when you don't have anywhere to go with it. So I'm still definitely working on the music and working on more projects and a new album, hopefully. But I've been painting so much of my time. The last year has gone into my art, and so much, in fact, that my little workshop space, I decided to be innovative again, and something I had not any plan to do. I opened an art gallery and a gift boutique.
Wow! Oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
So now that space
wonderful.
Has become a store.
Oh my goodness, good for you. So you know what? See, that's so inspiring. That's so inspiring to so many people that are out there. And I get it, that darkness and that staying busy and living life, and you're always up for challenges, and you've been up for challenges since you kind of got let down when you were 12 years old for your TV debut. But it's just amazing, your strength to keep on the positive side of it, and that's so important to share with other people. So I can't wait to share this interview with people and your information, and have people be able to go there. So can people go online and get some of your artwork?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have two websites. The art website is prairiegirlgifts.com, and then my music website is elibarsi.com. Okay. And so both of those are and they're connected to each other. If you go to one, you'll find the other, and vice versa. Okay. And the art that I've been doing throughout the last 5 years, I've just started painting, like really dove into painting 5 years ago. All the images that I've ever painted are available in one form or another. I have a lot of original pieces, but I also have canvas prints of a lot of the previous work. And the canvas prints, I put a good vibe or scripture or some kind of wording, some text on the canvas prints. You can see all of those on the website, and I'm happy to do. I do custom kind of things all the time. People say, "Well, I like this image, but I really would like this scripture or this phrase or this because it pertains to my daughter or mother or whatever." So I'm happy to do kind of things like that. I'm working on things like that all the time.
That's really good to know, because I think you just got a commission piece from me.
Hey!
I have something very special that I'd love to have done. So we'll definitely touch base on that. That's fantastic.
Talk. Oh, awesome. I'd be honored. Well, I do get to work on some very special things. I do pet portraits and people's barns. I love painting barns. Growing up playing in the barn, it seems like people have a lot of these old barns tell the best stories, right? So I've been painting a lot of barns and elevators and things, prairie landscapes and Canadian landscapes in folk art. And I also dig up pieces of the prairies, which what I mean by that is I'll find old gas cans and kettles, cattle skulls, bison skulls, pieces of harness. I literally dug up from the prairies of Saskatchewan. I clean them up, and then I paint on them. So all of a sudden, this discarded item that's long lost and forgotten is now a keepsake, maybe a family heirloom. But I get a lot of joy out of that too, and those pieces speak to me. It's like there's history there.
Yeah, for sure.
You get a lot of joy out of working on that kind of stuff too.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to go have a look at some of that, but I'm really excited to get you to do a commission piece. I actually just maybe about a year and a half ago, I went through an older house, a friend of mine, and I had found, I was brave enough to go onto the second level. I had found some old letters belonging to his family member, and even a very rare piece of jewelry, and all kinds of different things like that. And so I took it upon myself, and I went and made copies. Back in the day, there about 2 years ago, we were allowed to go into places to do non-essential things. So I had made a photo album of all of the things that I salvaged from the house. And I just, it does. I think it's so important to not forget anything from our past, and I love that, and I love the fact that you're doing some artwork and stuff like that. It's your, again, we go back to, you have to know your business, but you're diversified, and I've done similar things with my business, and that's where the Cowgirl Channel of Canada came from, because I didn't want the pandemic to kind of let me down, so I stayed busy. I've got a couple of other really major projects happening for me, and so I'm excited because the pandemic sent me back home, because I know what it feels like being out on the road. And I love the idea of becoming more diversified, and I was struggling to find stuff on Canadian culture or Canadian women all in one spot, one place, and I kind of wanted to figure out how it would be, what it would look like to have this channel and to have, so I'm really excited for where this is going to go, because I want to be able to put all these women together and help each other out. And when I was going through my research for this interview with you, I did get the chance to spend a bit of time and listening to some of your music. And I truly have a question I'd love to ask you. Your song, The Portrait of a Cowgirl. Could you tell me a little bit about how that song came to play? Like how you came to create it?
Awesome. Well, thank you for asking. That's one of my favorite songs.
Mine too.
That song is about my mom.
Oh.
We moved back to the prairies after I had been away from Saskatchewan for 25 years, and we were living in Branson, Missouri for about 10 years prior to our move back to Canada. And long story short, our daughter finished school there and decided she'd go to university in Saskatchewan. So here we are home. We were thinking, well, I think maybe we'll go back to Saskatchewan now too. So here we are, homeward bound. And it was coming back to Saskatchewan now about 10 years ago that I realized how much I love the prairies, the dust and the wind and the beauty of the prairies. Sometimes you have to be away from these things to appreciate it. And so coming back, I was just overwhelmed with just my surroundings and my upbringing and memories rushing in. And so I wrote this whole album, Portrait of a Cowgirl, and I had written 11 tracks, 11 out of the 12 songs, but I still needed that one more song to tie it all together, to bring it on home. And I was back at my parents' farm going for a walk, and Portrait of a Cowgirl just kind of rushed into my head, and I started getting ideas, and I was thinking about my mom as I was walking, and all the stories that she told me. She was a one-room schoolhouse teacher, and she rode her horse to work, which is, how many people do we know that?
That's one of my favorite parts of the song, is riding to school on horseback. I love that.
Well, she did it as a child, and then she did it when she taught, and then in the winter she hooked up a little cutter, and away she went across the snow that way. And she was a 4-H leader and just a community giver, like so many women that I knew growing up, and are still meeting to this day, contributing to the community and being involved and lifting people up. And so I wanted to pay homage to her with the song. So I wrote the song for her, and then at Portrait of a Cowgirl, my husband said, that should just be the title of the album, because that wraps it all up. And so I was very pleased with how it turned out, and little did I know, though, that the song that I just wrote for my mom, and just pleasing her and bringing her some joy with the song, that it would take off, and other people would enjoy it, and other people would get it. Such a personal song. And I was very, very honored to receive a big award for that song in Oklahoma City for the Western Heritage Awards for Best Western Original Composition. And just myself and Ian Tyson are the only Canadians to have received that. So it's just a little song that I wrote for my mom. So I was just very, very blessed and very pleased with that. And
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that story about that. I had replayed the song a few times, and it hit me on like levels about me and my mom, and and my grandma and stuff like that. And it's such a beautiful thing, and I kind of almost could feel it through the song without even knowing the story. What it was about. And I think that's the true gift of yourself that you have to give to people with all your music. And I love all of it, but I have to say that the Portrait of a Cowgirl was really spoke to me, and I think I'll definitely be sharing that on our website at the Cowgirl Channel of Canada for people to go and continuously listen to, for sure.
Well, thank you so much. That means the world to me. And although awards and recognition and all that is very, very nice, and happy to have that, it's words like yours saying that the song reached you and spoke to you in some way. That's the real reward, and that's really all that matters.
Absolutely. Well, it was such a pleasure talking with you, and I do have, if you want to, we're gonna leave all your information on the website and throughout the podcast and on the YouTube video. We'll have all those links set up there for everybody to reach out to you, and I'm personally going to be reaching out to you for a commission piece, because I had this commission piece in my mind that I wanted done, and it's for a very specific reason, and I'll tell you about that later. But now I have the idea, now I have the person, right, to do it. So that's fantastic. So we'll definitely share all your information with our audience, and thank you for sharing. But there was one thing that I would love for you to share, and something that you shared with me when we talked about doing this interview, is your motto of life. I'd love for you to share that with our audience.
Well, it's hard to sum it up in in a sentence or two. Well, give your best to the world, and the best will come back to you. I feel that what comes from the heart reaches the heart. So no matter what it is you're doing, working with horses, painting landscape, playing music, building saddles, you're a hatter, you're a silversmith, you put your heart and soul into what you're creating. What comes from the heart reaches the heart, and that's just true in everything. And I have to mention that I'm a child of God, and a woman of faith, and none of the things that I've been blessed with would be possible without having God in my life and getting down the trail safely. It's just all having God in my life and His guidance and help and staying connected to my faith is so important, and I'm so thankful that I have that, and my family has that in our lives as well, because that's definitely the armor and the daily guidance that we need to get through, and especially in these uncertain times. You know, that's keeping us strong. So I definitely wanted to make sure that that was mentioned.
And you know what? That's such a beautiful thing, and I feel very, very much the same. And you know, sometimes when you're going through life as confident as you have gone, and you know, some of the things that I've gone through and the struggles, sometimes we step away a little tiny bit from that faith and how that holds us there. And I had a really good friend of mine out in Alberta. Her and I were in Indiana at a horse event that we were clinicianing for, and she gave me this beautiful analogy, a horse analogy, believe it or not, because we reference everything about horses. And she was talking to me about that horse in the round pen, just going around and around and around in the round pen, trying to either use the support of the round pen. I can't remember exactly her analogy, but in reference to when we lose our faith, or we lose our path to God. And that was such a beautiful way that she explained that to me. And I love being able to share that with people too, my faith in God and all the things that I've done up till now. And I think that's you know, one of those things, I always look back at that and I say I'm so grateful for that, and being able to tell, you know, your family and your friends that you're just grateful for them in your lives, and to be grateful to God too, is such an important thing, because at the end of the day, you know, we're all going through this pandemic together, but we're all going through life together too, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's so important. Well, I'm just been so delighted to chat with you and visit with you, and I appreciate your invite so much, and the chance to be heard across the nation and to be a part of your wonderful show. All the best. I'm just thrilled that the Cowgirl Channel is out there, and you're going to make such a wonderful difference with this show, so I appreciate being part of it. Oh,
well, we really appreciate being on here. So we're gonna share all your information with everybody in our audience, and you know, I'm gonna let everybody know that they can reach right out to you when all this is over, and we can start touring around, and we're gonna come out to the prairies, and we're gonna maybe have some people come see some of your shows, and that'd be fantastic. So thank you so much, Eli.
Thank you, Lori. You have a wonderful day.